وهنا على وهن وفصاله في عامين حملته أمه وهنا على وهن وفصاله في عامين أن اشكر لي ولوالديك إلي المصير.
And we have enjoined upon man care for his parents. His mother carried him, increasing her in weakness upon weakness, and his weaning is in 2 years. Be grateful to me and to your parents. To me is the final destination.
This Wednesday, join us on Radio Islam International for a special episode honoring the unsung heroines, the mothers of the pious. In this unique radio show, we'll explore the powerful influence of mothers who raised individuals of great faith, wisdom, and integrity. Hear inspiring stories of sacrifice, devotion, and the deep love that shaped spiritual leaders and change makers throughout history. Join us as we pay tribute to these remarkable women who, through their nurturing and guidance, played a pivotal role in the development of virtuous and pious individuals. Don't miss this chance to celebrate the quiet yet transformative power of motherhood, only on Radio Islam, where faith, love, and legacy meet.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Radio Islam International. The time is exactly 12 minutes past the hour of 9. We are discussing the topic, Love Your Kids. And we're starting with Season 3, the first episode, Episode 1. I know the last 2 weeks we were doing the introduction. And before that, it was Season 2 and Season 1, just a recap of those seasons. We spoke about, the mothers of the pious. We spoke about the mothers of the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, and how they brought up their kids who turned out to be Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, who turned out to be the Imam, people whom me and you follow in today's times. So that was the first 2 seasons. The third season, that is Love Your Kids. We're speaking more of a general topic in today's time, how to bring up the kids. We're speaking to Maulana Zahier Raggie. Maulana, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And we take this opportunity of greeting all our listeners on Radio Islam, Radio Al-Ansar, and those that are joining us on the various platforms, Ummahat, etc. We entering the virtuous days of Dhul Hijjah, and we take this opportunity also of greeting you and also making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah accept the Hajj of all those that have gone for Hajj, and also that those that have not yet gone, may Allah ta'ala make it easy for all of them to go and perform the once in a life journey of Hajj, inshallah.
Inshallah. Well, we speak about Hajj, we're speaking about mothers, and I remember that there was a question that someone posed a question. I don't know, it was to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam or to one of the pious people that, if I carry my mother from the place that I am right till the plains of Hajj, I even carry her on my back, I perform the tawaf, I go to Arafah, and I do all the rituals of Hajj, and I come back, have I fulfilled the rights of my mother? And the answer was no. You haven't even fulfilled that 1 second that your mother has given you milk, or even, that one push at the time of labor, something to that effect, Maulana.
Yes, and the word of that hadith, Maulana, Jazakallah, is talqatan wahida. Talqa, normally we use the word talaq for separation. So talqa, it comes from that moment when the child is separated from the umbilical cord. So not even that one moment of pain that the mother goes through, have you fulfilled the rights of your mother? Yes, Maulana. Beautifully described by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Well, in today's time, when one sees a happy family living in harmony with a peaceful and relaxed home environment, and above all, it's all well-adjusted, pious children, and this is not just a result of chance. It's not by chance that, the family is happy, harmony, and there's no squabbles and arguments. This is actually a result of hard work and effort to develop good parent-child relationships. Good parenting is a long-term investment, and it's the key to success, to great success in the emotional, psychological, and physical development of children. Now, there are some who are either uninformed or of whom parenting has a difficult cultural meaning. There are others who are educated, but they decide to imitate Western cultures blindly, and parents may also follow other ill-informed parents and neighbors, and some parents try to fulfill their unfulfilled wishes, and this they do through their children.
Yes, Maulana, Jazakallah for that introductory words relating to this discussion of ours. We today going to really enter into the actual dive into the actual discussions that we had commenced in the beginning of this year. And that was the purpose for which we had season 1 and season 2, which you've mentioned about. And this is basically building that good relationship between parent and child. Maulana, if you recall, some time ago when we started the program on narcissism, we also spoke about good parenting will develop good children. And if you do that well, you perhaps may avoid developing a narcissist in your own home. And that is the reason why we had chosen to discuss this very, very important, significant, yet sometimes an underestimated topic, building good relationships with your children. So in essence, good parenting provides a warm, loving environment in our home in which children can flourish. An environment is essential for forging good relationships between parents and children, or children and parents, or between even siblings, that improves communication, which brings children and parents closer together. Successful communication requires very positive attitudes, not harsh or judgmental ones. So I'm repeating this: successful communication requires positive attitudes, not harsh nor judgmental ones. Such attitudes that encourage children to strive for excellence. And when we look at good communications, you know, in the Quran Kareem, the beautiful example of Yusuf alayhi salatu was salam, in the way that he was able to approach his father Yaqub alayhi salatu was salam, when he saw that very profound and significant dream. And the first person that he went to with the dream was to his father. And that was because the environment in the home was such that a child could go and first call to the one he trusted most. Now, Muslim parenting today is quite challenging, or some may even say it's become problematic. Most parents do not take courses in parenting, and not that I'm saying you need to take courses in parenting, but many parents today lack the knowledge, lack the experience, and also many parents today lack parenting skills. And many parents today rely solely on instinct. They rely solely on common sense, which is usually, in the times that we are living in, perhaps outdated, and many parents perform the task of parenting such which is inherited from their ancestors, such that is inherited from their own parents. Not to say that our parents did a bad job, but times have become such that we need to be a little bit more involved in the parenting of our children, which is unlike in the past where there were many joint families living together. The task of parenting, the task of guiding, the task of counseling was shared in a community where today it's very different. So, as you have said, Maulana, in your introduction, that many a times parents are either uninformed or for whom parenting has perhaps a very different cultural meaning. Then there are others who are educated. We have many educated people today, alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillah, in the various fields of professional training. But sometimes we tend to imitate Western cultures blindly. And then parents may also follow other ill-informed parents or even their neighbors. Many a times, many parents compare their own parenting skills with friends in society or with neighbors. Some parents try to fulfill their own personal unfulfilled wishes through their children. Many a times, many parents try to fulfill their unfulfilled wishes through their own children. Now, there are some who neglect this responsibility of proper parenting, unable to build that good relationship, or even postponed the duties that are endowed upon parents for the purposes of developing and tarbiyah. And sometimes this is owing to a lack of understanding, and also many a times as a result of lack of time. So we delegate parenting to perhaps babysitters. We delegate parenting to school teachers, to the maulanas in the madrasas and maktabs. Sometimes we delegate that to relatives. Unfortunately, sometimes we even delegate that to television and computer games, and today with the mobile phones. So when we are busy with our activities, give the child the iPad, give the child the phone, and that responsibility of parenting is delegated to someone else. Maulana, whenever you want to come in, please come in. And our listeners may also, come in whenever they wish to. So, yes, Maulana.
Gee, there is a comment that has come in, but I think we've already dealt with this last year when we were doing the narcissist topic. The question is, Assalamu alaikum, please ask Malana, how does one deal with a narcissist sister-in-law?
Okay, yeah, we dealt with that at that time, Maulana.
Gee.
Hey, Jazakallah. So we aim to help in these discussions that we are going to have. It's going to be lengthy discussions, inshallah, as long as Allah grants us the ability. And we're going to try and cover many aspects of building that good, positive, compassionate relationship between parent and child. So we aim in these discussions, inshallah, Maulana, to help us as parents to rectify all that I've just mentioned, where we neglect that duty, where we postpone that duty, where we learn from our neighbors, we try to fulfill our own wishes through our children, where we hand over and outsource parenting to school teachers, to maulanas, or to the computer games, or to our screens. So we aim in these discussions to help us as parents to rectify all of the above, all of that what I've just mentioned, and to eliminate or reduce the innocent mistakes that parents make. Remember, no parent makes this mistake intentionally or willfully. These are innocent mistakes that we as parents make, for which we may have regret later. In a sense, we'll try to offer some advice against most of the common pitfalls that parents are likely to encounter in these discussions, inshallah. Unfortunately, parenting today is largely taken for granted, with little thought given to what this very significant and tremendous role entails. Parenting is a very difficult task. Parenting is a very important task. And unfortunately, it's many a times taken for granted. In fact, how many of us parents have ever thought seriously about the task we are entrusted with? How many of us as parents have really seriously thought that this is an important task that we as parents are entrusted with by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And honestly, it will help if we do so, where we give the importance to parenting. For we will come to realize that parenting requires its own set of skills. Parenting requires its own set of strategies. It also requires planning. Now, for a moment, Maulana, I would like to ask a few questions to our listeners. In order for us as parents to understand the important, significant task that parents have in the field of bringing up the future generations of society. Question number one, which task requires knowledge of management? It's parenting. Which task requires psychology? It's parenting. Which task requires sociology? It's parenting. Which task requires nursing? Parenting. Which task requires culinary art? Because we have to feed our children. It's parenting. Which task requires good communication skills? Parenting. I'm asking these questions for our listeners, for us to understand the important, significant task that parents have in the field of bringing up children. Which task does not require a degree, a certificate, or even a license to practice? It's parenting. We don't need that degree. We don't need that certificate. We don't need that license to practice it. Which task is one of the most misunderstood and neglected tasks? Again, it is one of those tasks that is most misunderstood, and it is perhaps many a times neglected. It's parenting. Which task has endured the most abuse and violence? Subhanallah, it is parenting. Parenting has endured the most amount of abuse. It has endured the most amount of violence. Ask many a parents or ask many a children how they fall prey to abuse, they fall prey to violence, which results in all the societal damages that we witness. Which task is so crucial that it affects people's lives even as adults? Many parents today will say that it was my childhood journey through my home that has become so crucial in the way it affects my upbringing as an adult. Which task is the most important teacher for a child? Parenting. Now, with these few questions, Maulana, that I've asked, and the idea of asking these questions is simply for us as parents to realize and understand the great important task that parents have, yet unfortunately, it's taken for granted. Maulana, any comments?
A comment has come in, Marana. What different parenting strategies should be used on kids that are diagnosed with ADHD and motor tics? I find it is a struggle to cope with the standard tactics that we normally use. Hyperactivity in the child proves to be more challenging.
Yes. So, Marana, Jazakallah firstly for that question. And as we said, today is only episode 1, and inshallah, I've got some notes on this, and inshallah, definitely we will address this as well. But as we develop our discussions, inshallah, we will address that. However, if the parent wants to talk, they can also talk to me privately. But let us continue with our discussion so that inshallah, we will try and address. And listeners can send in questions, not necessarily that every question will be replied in the discussion today. But inshallah, we will address or try to address most of our questions, inshallah. Is that fair?
Another one has come in. Quickly, let me just go through this one also. Assalamu alaikum. My divorced daughter is a 5-year-old boy. She remarried 2 years ago. She now has a 6-month-old girl. For the past few months, the boy tends to scratch and scream at times. He also still wets the bed. Any advice or something to read or to recite to ease the situation?
Inshallah. Maulana will send some of these and they can also contact us. But again, allow us just to, dive into this topic, very crucial. And we're already hearing from the questions and the comments that this is a topic that was or is necessarily needed to be discussed, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So think about it. We do not hire mechanics, we do not hire plumbers, we do not hire electricians or even doctors unless they are qualified for the job. Yet the majority of us become parents without any training. We study for 16 years, for example, to earn a college degree, yet can easily become parents, even sometimes as teenagers, without even preparing for this great responsibility that lies ahead. Although we know that we must have a license to drive a car or to fly a plane, many a times, or most of the times, or all the times, we do not feel that it is necessary for people to be trained for parenthood. So what is it that the majority of us, of course, meaning well, do when raising children? What is it that majority of us do? Although we mean well in what we are doing when we raise children, although numerous parenting theories, good advice are available to parents, and there's a lot that we can Google when we experience certain difficulties, and many parents do that, they are generally ignored, and parents blithely, when I say blithely, I mean it's, it's in a way shows that casual indifference to a good way of parenting. We carry on hoping that everything will turn out for the best. Some parents may exert some effort. They may attend parent-teacher association meetings at schools, keep a general eye on things. Some parents may also worry about grades in school. They may even attend family outings for the sake of being there, make other superficial efforts. But aside from this, parents tend to do little else as parents. Although there is no all-encompassing fast-track model that we can use, however, there are procedures that we as parents can implement in order for us to achieve our goal of bringing up good children. Along the way, we will come to realize, inshallah, that the road to good parenting is always under construction. There is no quick fix, and there is no remedy that will be applicable to every parenting challenge. We may make improvements, however, it's very difficult for us to expedite the process. And therefore, we should not look for shortcuts to successful parenting, because there is no shortcuts. Someone said very beautifully, Maulana, and I would like to quote this. They said, before I got married, I had 6 theories about bringing up children. Before I got married, I had 6 theories about bringing up children. Now, I have 6 children, but I have no theories. Subhanallah. So that's what I'm saying. There's no shortcuts. There's no successful parenting because it does not exist. Yes, Maulana, we can continue.
Well, the second part comes at phases of child development. Now, we need to understand that children go through different phases of development. It is beneficial for parents to familiarize themselves with these stages. For in each stage, the requirement and demands of parenthood change. It's not going to be the same thing over and over again. It's not going to remain the same from when the child is 1, when the child becomes 11, to the child becomes 21. these are different phases a child is going to go through. So obviously, each requirement is also going to be different, and the demands are going to be different.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's important for us as parents to understand the various phases of child development. Actually, it's so beautiful that we learn from our Sharia that even in the womb of the mother, there are phases of development, and each phase of development has a separate effect on the actual development of the child, even in the womb. But after the child is born, the phases of child development perhaps can be divided as infants, toddlers, preschoolers. So infants, toddlers, preschoolers is from the age when the child is born up to the age of 6. At that time, the child is an infant, it's a toddler, or sometimes they even call them preschoolers. And then it is pre-teens from the age of 7 to 11, 12, and then young teens, 12 to 17, and then young adults, 18 to 21. Now, these are various age groups that psychologists have separated in order to provide us some guidelines with regards to the divisions and the various stages of child development. And in each of these stages, children will require different physical, emotional, social, psychological resources from parents. And therefore, when I ask that question about psychology, emotional, social, these are all tasks that parents should be acquainted with. And obviously, no parent is going to have a full study of parenting. But we need to be cognizant that in each of these stages, the parent will require different, or the child, physical, emotional, social, psychological support from parents. Ultimately, that child will grow from a state of total dependence to one of nearly total independence. And that distinction between total dependence to total independence, that transfer from the one to the other, is such a sensitive age that parents should be well acquainted with that difference. It is important for parents and offsprings to negotiate these transitions successfully. Conflict theorists note that sometimes how parents and young adults compete for power and resources in a home, same child, same parent, as the child and the parent were sharing certain things, or the child was subservient to the parent, suddenly there is an observance of there is young parents and young adults competing for power and resources in a home. Each one wants control of the other, and they often have different ideas about how resources, meaning money, space, time, should be allocated. So, I'm going to give you an example. Although the example does not advocate watching TV, but there will be a time in the home where the parent wants to watch and the child wants to watch something else. And this conflict of sharing the space or desires or needs are observed in homes. And this is because of the different transitions that is taking place in a home. As children become adolescents, as children become adults, parents need to redirect their energy away from their children towards their own lives. As children become adolescents, as children become adults, parents need to redirect their energy away from their children towards their own lives. Morana, I give a very beautiful example. Nowadays, most cars have it. They have that warning sign in the car, lane departure warning. So parents need to know their lane. Children need to know their lane. Then the equation reverses. When the parents become old and possibly dependent on their children, that is such a sensitive stage for parents. We call it ageism. How do parents manage their transition from adults to old age? Independence translates into interdependence, where there will always be mutual advice, where there will be mutual consultation, where there will be sharing and caring between children and parents. Many a times, many parents are unable to manage that phase. And many a times, children may give parents certain consultation or advice, or sharing and caring, which was previously done by parents to children. The role reverses. These are stages in a home and in transition times that people need to be aware of. And unfortunately, Morana, many a times, and to our listeners, many a times, many homes are indifferent to these changes that we may experience in our homes.
One of the way we raise our children, obviously there's different parenting styles. What parenting styles are we talking about?
So we spoke about the different stages of child development, and we also said we need to understand these stages and we need to be cognizant of them. A very important question, Morana, the way we raise our children. So as parents, we may have different styles. Broadly speaking, there are perhaps 4 styles of parenting that many parents adopt. And if applied in combination, then one particular style may become dominant over the others. Now, what are we talking about, the various parenting styles? Now, I want to talk about a little bit, just as an introduction again, to the various parenting styles. And later, inshallah, we will dive deeper into it. The first one, authoritarian or dictatorial. Authoritarian or dictatorial. Many parents demand obedience. Many parents demand respect for their authority and expect their children to follow rules without questioning. Parents are usually demanding, yet unresponsive to the demands of their children. This style of parenting is regarded as an authoritarian, dictatorial style, where you demand obedience, you demand respect, and you demand obedience and respect because of your authority, and you expect your children to follow your rules without questioning you. And parents are usually demanding. This type of parenting, that type of a parent is very demanding and unresponsive most of the times to the demands of the children. Later, inshallah, we will go into the details to say which style is the most appropriate. And it's not necessary that one is better than the other. Again, it would depend on the circumstances. It would depend on the various development status. The other one is, the first one we spoke of, authoritarian, dictatorial. The second one is authoritative. And there is a slim line difference between the two. Authoritative parenting is where parents maintain firm expectations and limitations, but in an environment which is warm. Now, understand the difference between authoritarian and authoritative. Parents maintain firm expectations. They maintain and they want, and they set limitations. But the expectations and limitations are in an environment which is warm, in an environment which is considerate, in an environment which is non-punitive. They hold their child accountable in an effort to develop autonomy in his or her, in him or her, in the son or the daughter. Now, the first one we said where parents are usually demanding, but they are unresponsive to the demands of the children. But in this one, the environment is warm. The environment is considerate. We set limits. But in setting the limits, we hold our children accountable in an effort to develop in our children self-worth, autonomy. As a result, we find that child becomes more emotionally grounded. So authoritative is different from dictatorial. Then there is another style of parenting, which I may call permissive. In this, parents allow children to do as they please, placing little demand on them. Child can do as he please. Parents have little or no control over the children. And these type of children can easily manipulate parents. Conflict is low in this type of environment, but parents are not in charge. So it's like, permission granted. Whatever you want to do, do. You allow children to do as they please. You place no demand on them. Parents have absolutely no control over the children. And these children are easily able to manipulate the parents. Although there's no conflict in this type of a home, but the parent is not in charge. So that's another type of parenting. Then you get uninvolved. Parents are completely detached from the children's lives, except for providing the bare minimum necessities. There is little expression of love. There is absolutely no expression of affection. You leave children emotionally deprived and at the risk of delinquent lifestyles. Now, these are the various parenting styles, Morana. In general, we can ask a question, which is the most appropriate one? Generally, if you speak to, psychologists, you speak to sociologists, they would prefer the authoritative one, the second one. Ask yourself now, as a parent, as we're talking, where do I fit in relation to the 4 broad parenting styles? And why have I adopted or fallen into that particular style of parenting? We spoke, I think 2 weeks ago, about self-talk. There is a need for each one of us, as we conclude our discussion today, to have a self-analysis of the type that I will allow to be for me as a parent. Self-analysis of this type will allow you to rethink your methods by focusing on the positive areas and develop those required improving in our style of parenting. Am I a dictatorial parent? I demand obedience. I demand respect. I expect my children to not ask questions. And I'm usually demanding, and yet I don't respond to the demands of my children. That's not a good approach. Am I authoritative? I maintain expectations, strict expectations. I set limits, but that expectations and limits are in a warm, compassionate, considerate environment. Am I able to be in an effort to develop the autonomy in my child? As a result, does my child become more emotionally grounded in the type of discipline that I'm bringing? Or am I that parent that allows my child to do anything and the child is able to manipulate me, where there's no conflict in my home, but I'm not in charge? Or am I such a parent that I'm totally uninvolved? I'm so occupied with my own issues that I don't even know what's happening. So these are the various types of parenting, and each one of us should take note of this. There is a prevalent belief, Jimora,
No, we can carry on.
there is, just as to conclude today's discussion, there is a prevalent belief, particularly among Muslim parents, and maybe that the authoritarian style of parenting is an effective way in which to prevent deviant behavior in our children. Interestingly, this is based on a mindset which seems to focus on the prevention of bad conduct rather than the encouragement of positive mental attitudes and good behavior. Let's bring the distinction between the two. Authoritarian style is based on a mindset which seems to focus on the prevention of bad conduct rather than the encouragement of good conduct. Control and fear takes precedence over a harmonious family relationship. And the result can be maladjusted children with widespread repercussions for society at large. For this reason, and because of the popularity of this style in many homes, unfortunately, I have decided to focus a little more deeply on this. The prevalent behavior of Muslim parents is that the rigid rule enforcement and the domination, as well as the lack of dialogue, lack of participation, lack of consultation and making shura. The seeds of authoritarian practices are planted within the family from infancy, and then they permeate outside the home. It permeates and it invades the school. It invades our social institutions. It invades into our religious institutions. And this is unfortunately the norm among many Muslim institutions, Muslim homes. Within the family, the father has forceful authority over the children, the older brothers over the younger ones, and the boys over the girls. The males are generally the dominant bosses, and the whole atmosphere is devoid of the concept of partnership, of the concept of responsibility. In contrast, we find, subhanallah, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam encouraged the concept derived from the word shepherd. You are a shepherd. A shepherd doesn't go around just hitting and controlling in that way. You are all shepherds, and you are all responsible for what you are assigned. And how best do you do that? You do that in a way that is most suitable. The general practice is that parents issue unexplained orders and instructions. As parents, we issue unexplained orders and instructions to our children with a list of do's and don'ts. And when our children ask for explanations, the routine answer is do as you are told. Just do what I'm telling you. And that's the way it is. Do as I say. Do not argue too much. Do not, talk back. Sometimes, subhanallah, inquisitive children may be reprimanded and accused of being disrespectful, impolite, or disobedient, but they're not. They're just inquisitive. To silence inquisitive children, some parents may give inaccurate responses to questions instead of saying they do not know the answer. And this is not to say that these parents do not care for their children. No, not at all. On the contrary, they love and care greatly for their families. Nevertheless, by trying to be strict and in control, many a times we become domineering. And domineering is not the same as training, with which it is sometimes confused. Training and domineering are two different aspects. This domineering practice does not help to raise children who are emotionally, psychologically, or even mentally sound. To raise strong children, parents need to engage children in participative consultation. Subhanallah. You know the ayah of the Quran Kareem, wherein Allah Ta'ala addresses Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, with which I will conclude, وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْعَمْرِ فَإِذَا أَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ, and وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَزًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ فَاعْفُ عَنْهُمْ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. That Rasulullah is being instructed to make shura, consultation, and that need is even in parents and children. Maulana, I've taken a lot of time, and there's just a few minutes left. I think we'll conclude here. And if there are any questions with regards to today's discussion or any comments, inshallah, we will then continue next week.
Coming in, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What happens when a child blocks the parent? How does one deal with it? I guess this is, there's a situation where there must be a separation in the child is with one parent and he blocks the other parent.
Yes, I think it all goes down to, Maulana, I know it might sound harsh. What has been your relationship with your child in the beginning? Which type of parenting styles did you adopt that resulted in this type of a behavior from children? Not to validate the child's approach of blocking the parents, but many a times we need to do that self-analysis of ourselves in the way that we treat our children or treated our children.
Definitely. Well, inshallah, we'll carry on next week, Wednesday again.
Insha'Allah.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Good deeds in these 10 days.